Now, UK border staff based in France are failing to take the fingerprints of thousands of illegal immigrants caught trying to enter Britain. It's thought the practice has been going on for 3 years now. The discovery was made during an inspection of border controls at key routes between Europe and Britain by the Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, John Vine.
I think it's anomalous that when people are travelling to the UK legally, as you or I would do, we're subject to 100% checking at the border, proper checks, people know our identity. Seems anomalous that people who are trying to arrive here illegally are just released without any attempt being made by the British authorities to find out who they are.
So that's John Vine. Let's talk now to Tony Smith, who's former head of the UK Border Force and now a border security consultant. So you know plenty about this. How shocked should we be that the fingerprints of illegal immigrants are not being taken? How worried should we be about that?
I wouldn't be overly worried. I think the first thing to say, as I think your reports show, is what a difficult and dangerous job the Border Force does in northern France. These are human smuggling rings, increasingly sophisticated, smuggling people in deep containers and doing a pretty good job stopping people from getting here in the first place. And 11,000 stops last year. So the juxtaposed controls in the UK are actually the envy of the world in terms of border security. It prevents people even making it to our frontier in the first place. Now, fingerprinting people clearly is a very useful tool, and I'm not surprised that John Vine supports it. He's from an enforcement background the same as I am, and the more fingerprints I can get from people, the better, particularly people who want to conceal their identities, which is what illegal immigrants want to do. But I think the problem here probably is a jurisdictional one. It's a practical one in terms of, you're operating on French territory. We have to work very closely with the French authorities on what we can and can't do in that zone. Our primary mission is to stop people coming, and we're doing a pretty good job of that, and then working with the French to actually get after the criminal gangs that are bringing these people and exploiting this business, which is a multi-million-pound international crime.
Let me ask you about something else that's highlighted by this report. This is this so-called Lille loophole. I'll just explain it. Basically, it exempts from immigration checks some of the passengers who travel on the Eurostar from Brussels in Belgium via Lille in France. It's being called the Lille loophole. Should that be closed, in your opinion, that loophole?
Well, again, coming from my background, yes, of course it should be. But I mean, this is really difficult stuff because we're operating in Europe where we've got a freedom of movement zone. So once you get to France, you can go on to Belgium, Germany, Holland, and right the way through to the extra with nobody stopping you at all. So, I mean, what's happening is people are boarding trains in Belgium and, ostensibly buying tickets to Lille. And what we want the train companies to do is to make sure that they get off in Lille, which is what you would hope people do, got a single ticket. But they don't get off. They stay on the train. And it's very hard to suggest to European counterparts that we should operate border controls from people going from Belgium into France. I mean, what business has the UK got of doing that? We can operate border controls on people coming directly into St Pancras, and that's what we do now. So I mean, it's a hugely difficult area, but I mean, there is a lot of penetration testing that's been going on there, and I think John Vine has acknowledged the fact that we are quite good at stopping the Lille loophole. But again, there are practical and logistical and jurisdictional issues with the Europeans on what we can and cannot do in those countries.
Now, this report that's out today, bits of it have been redacted, i.e. blacked out, so that we can't read them. The government say it's for operational security reasons. The opposition are saying it's a cover-up. What have they got to hide? What would you say about that?
Well, in my experience, the only reason that portions of a Chief Inspector's report would be redacted would be for very good national security reasons, which we wouldn't want to go into in the public domain. There are other mechanisms that the Home Secretary can take if she wishes to impart the information through the Security and Intelligence Committee to Parliament, but it's not something that you would want disclosed. So, I mean, obviously I wouldn't know any more than you do what has been redacted from this report, but based on my experience, I would say that is almost certainly an intelligence or security concern rather than any exposure of any failings on behalf of the agency or the Border Force.
So overall, as a former head of the UK Border Force, how would you say our border controls are working? Are you broadly happy with the way they're working?
I'm broadly happy with the way they're working, but they need to keep on the front foot. We need to continue to advance our technology. We need to stop people coming before they get here. I think this is the key mission, and that's why the juxtaposed controls are so powerful. You know, we've got people planted all around the world working with airlines, stopping people boarding flights in the first place if they're criminals or if they're smugglers or if they've got forged documents. That's where you want to operate your controls. That means that when the people do arrive at our frontier at Dover or at Heathrow or at Gatwick coming back from their holidays, they don't have to face the long queues that they've had to face in the past, because actually you've been able to stop people at source. So it is about getting data, getting information and intelligence in advance, properly targeting, working with other countries like France and the Americans and everybody else to try and deter the harmful so that you can facilitate the genuine.
Very good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your expert analysis. Tony Smith there, former head of the UK Border Force.